Alright everybody, welcome back. SUMARI Dark Arts once again. It's your multi-dimensional brother, lover, best friend. You ain't never had a friend like me. Come on guys, you know it's true. But we're back. It's multi-dimensional brother set here. Now, as usual, I don't know where this video is gonna head to because you guys are lucky today, man, because actually there was an appointment scheduled for this class, but the person didn't show up. So I was like, oh man, if not, you guys wouldn't be getting this video. Probably wouldn't have no video until next week. So happy birthday, Merry Christmas, whatever. Anyway, all right, let's get down to business. Now, where did we leave off last time? We left off last time with excuse me, names having power. And it was pretty much, what was that, the 77th video, I think? So yeah, this is the 78th video. I guess I'll just try to continue on that. But yeah, so you have names that a lot of people in the comments section went down. They gave the names that they have, that they felt give them power. I can't remember the names exactly right now, but if you're interested in what other people said, just go to the last video and look at the comments section. Before I forget, I just want to say this. If you are watching the videos, please subscribe. I mean, you know, I said this in the past, when people subscribe, and thank you for those that do write comments, and for people who watch and don't subscribe, I mean, that's okay, but we all would rather have you subscribe because it just lends more validity to the things we're talking about. You know, when people see large, you know, people subscribing to things, it makes it seem that this is information that is worth talking about. So yeah, if you are one of those individuals that are watching and you have not subscribed, please subscribe. No pressure, but I would love it if you did. Anyway, so we talked about names of power. You have the Egyptian pantheon of gods. You have the Greek gods. I didn't mention them last time, but they're there. Zeus, Ares, Poseidon, Hades, you know, all of those characters. You had the Egyptians, you had Ra, Osiris, Set, Thoth, Sobek, Anut, Jeb. They have all these characters, right? But those are not just the only countries. I mean, obviously, this reality is very wide. So every culture has their own individuals. If you go into the voodoo pantheon of, you know, entities they deal with, Papa Legba, Baron Samedi, there's just so many, you know, there's just so many to get into. So if anyone is watching this video and you feel connected to any of those, don't feel like I'm purposely leaving you out. It's just that it is too many to name. But you guys know where I'm coming from with this information and what I'm trying to say. So let's get on to the juicy stuff. How exactly do these names have power? And I talked about how it's not, I left off the last video with saying it wasn't necessarily about the names themselves. Because like, the reason I said that, right, you get a lot of individuals, right, a lot of cats will come along and they'll be like, all right, well, what is the spelling of the name? And like, I say, well, you spelled this wrong, you know, it's not Seth, it's actually Seth, S-E-T-H, or they'll, the reverse, it's not S-E-T, it's S-E-T, or you spelled Thoth wrong, it's supposed to have one T, or not two. It doesn't really matter, you know, all that matters, I mean, spelling is just, you know, at some level, it is kind of subjective. It's like tomato, tomato, it's like, either way, you're still talking about the same thing. So it's like, don't get wrapped up in what the spelling is supposed to be, and you know, all those type of specifics. But the sound is what is important. Now, how can a sound have power? And this basically touches on how, for example, I'm trying to think how to break this down because I don't have any of this. This is all on the fly, guys. I don't have anything in front of me. Never. I'm just throwing it out there as it comes to me. I'm channeling. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, I got a joke, man. You know, I'm not bashing people that's channeling, but my point is, let me just jump side note real quick. You know, we all know the Seth material was channeled by Jane Roberts, but, you know, for me, Seth was cool coming through. But you have a lot of people, like, that was her thing. You could get the same information. I'm not saying you have to be a channel. And what I mean by it is that you don't have to have your eyes rolled in the back of your head and have a seance table. I'm not saying Jane Roberts did that, because at some point, even Seth made fun of those type of seances. If you into the material, and I don't remember exactly where it was, but if you're familiar with it, you probably know what I'm talking about, where he did joke around about how silly it was, the nonsense of trying to have a seance. You got to have a mood, and his point of view was basically that it's all unnecessary, all those ritual trappings and stuff. You could have, they were having sessions weekly with Jane Roberts, her husband, Robert Butts, and like 30 people in her living room, and they weren't going through all this with candles. It was it seemed more like a college lecture, or the session that they had once a week. People came together, they talked, Seth would come through, he would go out, Jane Roberts would come back, they'll discuss what was going on, and it was a very mature setting. You didn't have to go through, summoning and all this kind of stuff. But to get back to the story, so names having power, right? So sounds, you think of daily life, right? And it's like everything we do is based on sound. Like, if you want to say sounds don't have power, think of words, right? One word can send a person into such a frenzy that they'll murder someone, they want to kill somebody. Remember back in the days in school, right? At least for me, look, I'm from another reality, a multi-dimensional one. But at least in this reality, my upbringing in this lifetime was in the Bronx, South Bronx, man. And the South Bronx, growing up, in the 80s, it was tough. And I remember in school, I went to Catholic school, man, my whole life pretty much, but even in there, it was like you're talking to somebody, you smacking, you're trash talking back and forth, and you're saying all this stuff, and at the end of all that, somebody would just say, you'd be like, oh, you got a big head. No, you got a big head. Oh, look at your shoes. Oh, yeah. And they'd be like, yeah, well, your mother. And everybody's like, ooh. And that would bring a whole, like, when somebody said your mother, you ready to whoop some ass now. That you crack them in the head, you going at it and stuff. But it's like, in retrospect, like when you look back, it's kind of comical, because it's like, out of all the other stuff that the person said that was 10 times harder, 10 times more, just rough to each other. And most likely, I didn't even knew these people's mother. They didn't know my mother. They never even met. They probably didn't even have a mother. But just saying your mother, it was like, it brought forth all these emotions, and it's like in that split second, your personality, when the person says your mother, your consciousness goes through all the trials and tribulations. If you had a single mother, all the things your mother's done for you, how hard she's worked to keep you in school, or just basically helping you survive, helping the family survive. And from that, it triggered rage, not specifically just because, like, the word mother, but the sound and the connection to the sound, mother, my mother, the soul, person that takes care of me and takes care of all my siblings and things like that. So that's one instance. You take another instance, right? You get somebody and you go to a bar. Everybody's having a good time. One person gets drunk. Don't matter the nationality. They get drunk, and they going at it. Yeah, mama do it. Yeah, nigga. And like that word nigga, it's like people just lose it, and it's like, we understand that word has negative connotations, right? And yes, I said the word nigga. Like, don't get, oh, how could he say the N-word? It's like, if we're gonna live in a mature society and we're gonna talk about things, we cannot let words restrict us, because this is the whole point that I'm trying to make, is that we let a lot of words, and not necessarily words, sounds, and the connotations connected to those sounds dictate our moves and motives and things that we do in life, sometimes that are very detrimental to our own development. So it's like, when somebody would say that word, a person would go from a very calm demeanor to completely just losing and going ape shit, and they'll kill the person, or they'll do something that most likely will result in them ruining their own reality, And it's like, yeah, okay, we understand, slavery and the hard times that are connected with that word and oppression and all that. But it's like, are you really willing to sacrifice your reality? And when I say that, I mean as far as going to jail, getting your freedom taken away from you, simply because someone made a 2-syllable sound, from their lips. It's like, you have to be above that, man. It's like, that's another video. I don't want to detour because I'm about to go on another rant. But, trying to stick with the sounds. That's just another an example of how sounds can trigger us. So, on that brief note, if you are one of those people that still let those certain words, and not just that word, it could be any word that's derogatory towards a specific nationality of people or race or whatever, you got to start protecting yourself, blocking yourself off from those impulses to go out in a rage because someone made a sound with their mouth, and now you're ready to just kill them, because in the long run it doesn't benefit you. How you deal with those individuals is that when you come across difficult people like that in situations, number one, you shouldn't even be putting yourself in that situation to deal with that kind of stuff. So like, you shouldn't be in those kind of places that you might be called certain words. But if it does happen, because we do live in a spontaneous reality of chaos. I'm gonna touch on that in a minute. But anything is possible, anything can happen. Excuse me, guys, my throat is weird. This room, sometimes I get start coughing and shit, but whatever. So when you have those situations, right? Come on, man. It's like, you're multidimensional. People like that, people like that, they don't even register to me. You know what I'm saying? They're not even a blip on my fucking multidimensional radar. It's like, if someone was to come out at me and was like, "Oh, you spick Negro bastard," or whatever, like, it doesn't register. It's just like, if anything, I feel sorry for them. I'm like, wow, man. I clearly, from that comment, I see the level of reality that you're coming from, and it's not even anything close to where I'm at right now. So why should I get mad? If anything, I pity you, because I pity the fool. Listen to you. But it's true though, man. I pity them, because it's like, why? Like, just why get involved with that, man? It's like, do you concern yourself with what the ants are doing in nature? The ants are building an ant mound, and this ant, red ants are warring with black ants, or whatever happens in these insect kingdoms or any of the animal kingdom. We don't concern ourselves with that. It's like, who gives a shit? It's like, it just doesn't register, because it doesn't correlate with our reality. And the point, you have to start moving beyond this stuff, man. This is why, and I'm still with sounds, I haven't detoured yet, but I'm still staying with sound. This is why I've decided to take these videos into the next level. Because, man, the gods don't want me talking about this. Guys don't want me talking about this, man. Alright, I'll stop. Nah, just kidding. But yeah, sorry. So, you gotta start moving beyond this stuff, man. You can't sit around thinking about these things, man. Whatever. So, back to sounds. Anyway, so how do the sounds have power? Now, the sounds themselves, right? They're gateways. They connect to parallel realities of existence, alternate universes. There are many names for them, but simply, what is another reality, right? Sounds alter perception, right? Through the perception of your reality, your consciousness changes, right? When consciousness is changed, you therefore enter another reality. It's that simple, guys. It really is that simple. Alternate realities, other realities, parallel dimensions, all these things, when people claim that they've gone there, or if they have gone there, you're simply just dealing with altered states of perception and consciousness. Once consciousness shifts from physical reality, you end up in another reality. It's very, very simple. So, when you have a seance, or some kind of ritual, and I think I said last video, people are chanting and going through all this stuff, all the ritual trappings are just there to keep the person focused into what they're doing, but they're really useless. What is the purpose of having this, if you want to say magic, or you want to work magic, or you want to work a ritual and all these things, what is the purpose if you need to have all these other things around to pull it off? You got to have the candles, you got to have the robe, you got to have these offerings and all this. If you need all that shit, I mean, what if you didn't have all that? And that's what I'm trying to say, is like, all that stuff is nice if you want to go that route, and if you believe, keyword believe, if you believe you need all that. I mean, sometimes it's fun. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it is fun. If you want to dress up and you put on a robe and wear a skull mask and chant Amun Ra and all this, I mean, go ahead. To each his own. Have fun with it, man. I'm not against it. It doesn't bother me. But when you start to feel that you need to have that to reach these states, that's when the trouble comes in. So you should be able to reach these states without all of that. And how you do that is through sound. Now, sound is not just, how do we say, like auditory sense, not just with hearing. You also have inner sound, right? And a lot of people are not that hip on inner sound. Think about it. You hear thoughts all day in your mind. You hear them all the time. There's all these voices going on, talking in the background. And you just chalk it up to, it's just my inner consciousness, or it's just my subconscious, and all these things, these titles you put out. But you're still hearing stuff, It's not coming through your ears. It's not auditory, but you hear something. And it's within your own mind. And when you go to sleep at night, when you crawl, even now, if you go into a deep meditation state, a trance state, any altered states of consciousness, dreams, lucid dreams, astral travel, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing. Where are these sounds coming from? You're in another reality, right? You're having a full-blown conversation. There's a rock concert going on. The person back in physical reality in bed next to you doesn't hear any of this stuff. They could be sitting, they could be awake, watching TV, or just looking out the window. They don't hear any of this. You're full-blown in the middle of a concert, man, living it up in this other reality. Where are these sounds coming from? Just something to think about, Now, so I'm going to jump around a bit because I have to make certain points, right? On the last video, I believe it's Melissa, I think her name's Melissa Johnson. I'm sorry if I messed her name. I think it's Melissa Johnson. But there's a comment on the last video, 77th video, and she says she had a question about thought form. Now I'm paraphrasing as I don't have it in front of me, word for word, but she basically said she wanted my take on thought forms because her basic understanding of it was that they don't have personality, or they'll never have a full-blown consciousness. And I gave her an explanation, and I'm paraphrasing my own stuff now. It was pretty long, but basically, all personalities have their own consciousness within their own realities of existence. It's like, like what is a thought form, I mean, this is a loaded subject, but we've talked about this in the past, right? Basically, every single thought that crosses anyone or anything's mind, if it can think, if it has the ability to think, it's creating anything. I don't care what it is. And no thought is wasted, no energy is wasted. So whatever is thought up, whatever is imagined, it is instantly created in another reality. And from that reality of existence, it continues and grows according to its own experience levels of development. So, if you try to, and I think I said this to her in the comment, if you try to base a thought form or a dream character's personality by the standards of physical reality, it's easy to say, oh, well, this thing's not fully conscious because it doesn't know about my 401k back in the other world. It didn't know about who was the president. And these things are fully conscious. Because what do you think? I mean, you think when you wake up, it just all shuts down and waits for you to come back? This shit continues, man. It keeps going on. We talked about this in the past, too. Whenever you enter these states of other reality, whether it be, you call it dreams or whatever, it was already going on. It's been going on. There's nothing new going on. I mean, new things are created all the time, but you're just at that moment, that's your aware point of it. But the whole show has been going on. You just contribute to it, you know. Not saying that you don't have power and that you have no ability to control any of it, but it really is just going on. And when you wake up and come back here to this reality, like right now we're talking, it's going on right now. Think about it. Right now, I'm in Japan, right? On the other side of the world, back in, say, New York, where I'm from, it's probably about, right now in Japan, it's 5:44 p.m. Back in New York, it's about 4:44 a.m. Right now, half the people in New York, most of them, are sleeping, traveling all around the place throughout the multiverse. Some might remember when they wake up, many won't. But it's happening right now as we're talking. So there's like a whole population of people in another reality right now, man. That's what I'm trying to say. So to reach those realities, trying to jump back to sound, this is why I said the words have power, right? We talked about the dream language last time, and I said what I had to say in that video. I know a lot of you wonder, why hasn't he touched on that again? Why hasn't he said any more, you know, of that unique language and talk? Because I don't want people to get fixated on that, you know. I don't want that to become the focus point, although it is important. I might touch on it again in the future, but I gave you guys a sample. The rest is up to you now, and that's what it's about. This journey is not about someone holding your hand and saying, okay, now you got the dream, they got the ancient language, now you're gonna see here, gotta check your hands, you gotta do the lucid dream test. It's not about that. No one's gonna hold your hand, man. You have whole realities waiting for you to be conquered, taken over, destroyed, created. It's all yours. You just have to claim it, man. And that's what I said this way back in some old videos, claiming your mental real estate, man. You know, psychic real estate, whatever it is, you have to claim it. It's yours. It's just waiting there for you. Untapped power and potential is all yours at your fingertips, or, you know, talking about non-physical stuff, but it's all there. It's just waiting. So yeah, it's all just waiting for you to be, you know, manipulated and, you know, altered and created. It's all there, man. So I know I'm not really getting into like details of, well, what is it, you know, sounds, but I think I pretty much said all I had to say, you know. I mean, you do your own research, you know. I've already made that first video going into like the sounds have power and stuff. I know I said this was going to be a part 2, but I really feel there's nothing more for me to get into. You see by yourself, you know, things that sounds have power. You go to church. Churches are doing Gregorian chant, you know. I mean, what is that all about? If it had no power, they wouldn't be doing that. They're like, oh, Heavenly Father, amen. You know, I mean, what are they doing all that for? I mean, it's just fucking theatrics. They're doing it because it alters the consciousness of the people in the church. You go to other places, some Native American tribes, and they're doing what people call these rain dances, but they have their own names for it. But, you know, they're doing dances and, you know, giving up offerings to the gods and their rituals, right? And what is all that about? You know, they're dressed up in feathers, they have headpieces, you know, they're playing instruments. It's all about the sound altering the consciousness to take them into that next reality. Even when you look at the whole ayahuasca boom that's going on down in Peru right now, right? Yes, you drink the ayahuasca, and yeah, that does a lot of the work. It takes you to these other realities. But as you're in that process of crossing over, what do you have? You have a lady or someone next to you, you know, singing a song, playing an instrument. That's carrying you into the other reality. It's like the gateway and stuff. So instead of you just sitting there going, when's my trip gonna kick off, man? You know, you close your mind down, or at least physically, you shut off physical reality, close your eyes, and you let that sound be the gateway, and it guides you into it. Voices have power. This is why you ever see some actors, they have unique voices. I can't remember his name right now. We have the movie, I apologize. This is the actor from the movie Underworld, right? I think he also created the storylines, the black guy. And he has a very unique voice. He was a lichen in the movie, a werewolf. Just look up Underworld, and, you know, it's this big muscle-bound black guy. And I forgot his name, but he also wrote the story, I believe. And he has a very unique voice. You had the guy from, God, I'm forgetting everyone's names right now because I wasn't planning to get into this. But this is the movie The Green Mile, I think. Once again, the black guy was in jail. He got killed at the end. But You have a lot of people that have very, very unique voices, and as actors, the voice pulls the audience into the movie deeper. So voice and sound plays a very important point. If you meet a person and they have a very like, hey guys, what's going on? Like you feel like, oh fuck man, fuck off, and that's how you feel because there's no power in the voice. The voice has no power. You don't feel anything from that, and it's just like this annoying jabbing thing deep into your consciousness, and you just don't vibe with it, you know. But I mean, look at Michael Jackson, right? Michael Jackson had a very soothing, calm voice. I mean, besides him being what they call the king of pop, and his music was great, when he was, just speaking on an individual level without music, he was very calm and gentle. And people said his voice was very soothing and it made them feel calm. So that's just another sample of how sounds have power. Now, I only got 10 minutes. I know I jumped around a lot in this video, but I think, come on, man. We've been doing this for we're on video 78 now, almost hitting that big 8-0. You guys know me by now. I'm breaking the count. You guys know me, man. You guys know me by now. We've been doing this, almost hitting 80 videos, man. We started, I think 3 years ago, maybe. And I know that's not a lot. Some people say, well, damn, 3 years, you should be up to 3,000 videos. But 80 quality videos, I hope, of me ranting. I'm not really ranting, but, just giving my word, my say-so. But since I got 10 minutes, I just want to touch on this real quick, right? Because I don't want to keep bringing it up. So that name Set, once again, right? I talked about this in the last video. Who was the Egyptian god Set? Who was the Seth from the Seth material? And that could be read into a lot of different ways. But these are just some ideas for you to meditate on, right? The gods, you want to call them the gods, right? You have the gods of Egypt, the gods of, the Greek gods, you have African gods, all types of gods. One question, how did they become the gods? This is why, and I've mentioned this many, many times in videos. One, how did they become gods? No one really questions this or cares or wants to know. All right, we have the gods. The gods tell us what to do. Yeah, but who are these gods? Where have they come from? And most importantly, where have they gone? We already know if you want to bring it down to this level, what I'm about to say, energy is never destroyed. Consciousness is never destroyed. Thought forms are never destroyed. They only evolve. So who's to say that all of these Greek pantheon and African pantheon, Australian pantheon, and Japanese pantheon, and Egyptian pantheon of gods have not simply altered their forms and their images to adapt to the times, man? Because remember, the Egyptian gods and all these other gods, this was going on. We come into Egypt, and now we have these gods, and we worship them, and they tell us what to do and all this stuff. But there was stuff before that came into being. Shit was already going on with them way before we came along. We meaning people who decide to worship them, because we're also multi-dimensional beings. See, that's what I'm saying. You got to pay attention. When I say we, I don't mean when humans came and started worshiping them. I went into my rant a few videos back about humans, religious, spiritual, and multi-dimensional. But when I say human, I'm still talking about multi-dimensional beings. And I want to make that, I don't know if I mentioned that, but let me reiterate. Human, when I say human, I simply mean multi-dimensional beings that believe that they are human. They believe in this human element that's not real. It's not exactly real, but it's what they believe they are. So anyway, you get this pantheon of gods, right, in any culture, and they believe that, train of thought got lost, people coming in. What was happening before worshippers came along and before our other multidimensional brothers forgot what they were, and started worshiping others? Obviously, those so-called gods are around before that, and they're still around now. But now it gets more complicated, right? Because I got to go in a few minutes, but this is some more stuff to think about. We're dealing with a non-time time, how do I say it? God, time is non-linear, and we're dealing basically with no time. And when you realize that you're in a reality where time doesn't exist, that means time is open to all channels. All realities are open. So all these so-called gods are still around. Once again, how do I say this? They're still in existence right now. And I'm going to give you guys a little hit secret, some hints. All the gods that you claim to be the old gods, they're around us all the time, man. They're always there. They're whispering in your ears. They're in your dreams. They're in your daily thoughts. They're still here. They haven't gone anywhere. The difference is that they're still secure in the realities that they felt most comfortable in, you know. So for example, the Egyptian gods loved Egyptian times, right? But at the same time, they're gods, which means they're beyond the physical. They have full use of their multi-dimensional abilities. So not only are they in that ancient Kemet or Egypt right now, but they're also aware of other timelines. So what I'm trying to say is they enter other realities. Times are just different states of consciousness. So they'll enter into 2017, the 1950s, 2045, and people, multidimensional beings who think they're human, who completely cut off from their powers, they will interpret those gods with new guises. See what I'm trying to say? Right now, people don't talk about Egyptian gods. In 1,000 years from now, they won't talk about them. It'll be even more deader. But those same individuals, so-called gods, will still be alive and be perceived, but through whatever the cultural times are, whatever the cultural themes are at the time. So they're just some things to think about, man. Set, Seth, all these names. How do you know that the Seth and the Seth material wasn't the ancient Egyptian god Set basically entering into our reality and adapting itself to match our our understanding of reality, for the times. And not just Set, a lot of others. Another point to think of is that all those so-called gods, they have portions of their identity spread out amongst other multidimensional beings, because we're all basically one, yet we still have individuality. But each consciousness, each multidimensional being has an infinite number of other individual entities living inside of them, and it makes up what is called the soul. In more modern times. But what is the soul? Nobody even knows what it is, man. What I'm trying to say here is that the power of the so-called gods is inside of all of us. And certain characteristics come through if you, as the individual, feel more attuned to certain things. See what I'm trying to say? If you love war and violence, you might tap into that Aries, god of war. If you're into death, you might tap into that Hades, energy. But they're all still here, man. Some manifest stronger in other individuals more than others, some less than others. But I gotta get out of here, man. I might have to touch on this again. It's a multi-dimensional brother, friend, lover, Set, get back at you, but just some stuff to think about. Where's all this information coming from that I'm telling you guys about? It ain't just coming out the fucking ether. It's coming from somewhere. I know where it's coming from, but I'm not gonna say it because you guys gotta think for yourselves. All right, much love. SUMARI to everybody out there. Set, take care.